The same can be said for the second frame, if you like, the other 6 commandments, despite all the thou shalt nots. There is such wisdom and guidance in these things, not only for our life, but also for the larger community, as people try to learn how to live out their faith in their lives together. They are positive and helpful. We just don't like anything that seems to limit our freedom. We rebel when we sense our freedom is restricted. God once said, Adam and Eve would eat whatever you want from that beautiful garden, except from that one tree over there. So what do Adam and Eve do? They rebel against God, and it comes back, if you like, to bite them. We don't like to be called rebels, like Adam and Eve, but I think I mentioned 1 or 2 in a prayer a few weeks ago. What happens when you see a sign that says, wet paint? You stick your thumb on it to see if it's really wet, don't you? Or, how about when you say to one of your children, this is a good room to play over there, but that one thing over there, don't touch, don't go play with that. Well, we have a grandson whose favorite toy is our stereo. Even though we say, don't play with that, you can play with all the toys over there. I think it's because he was told not to go and play there. We teach the true positives, but we also teach through negatives. Thou shalt as well as thou shalt nots. From early in life all the way through, we teach. Thou shalt not put your fork in the light socket. Thou shalt not touch the stove. Thou shalt not play with the royal Baltons. Thou shalt not play on the street. Thou shalt not beat another kid when he gets you mad. Thou shalt not take drugs. Thou shalt not drink and drive. It goes on and on. All framed in a negative way, but are they negative? No. Even the thou shalt nots are positive and helpful. But we sometimes just focus on the negative. As we walk out onto the street and are about ready to get hit by a bus, someone grabs us by the arm and pulls us back and they say, oh, ow, you hurt my arm. So, thank you for saving my life. These 10 things help keep us safe. They help community to develop. Even the thou shalt nots are there to help us, keep us safe, help us to grow into good Christians and good citizens. You might have heard the old story of what happened when Moses came down the mountain after a long day of negotiating with God. He looked tired, but the people wanted to hear what he had to say. Moses said, well, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is that I've got him down to just 10 commandments. The bad news is he wouldn't budge at all on that adultery one. Whether the big stop sign pops up in front of adultery, or killing, or stealing, we don't like to slam on the brakes and hear, thou shalt not. Still, these commandments are not about negatives. They give us a positive, wise framework of how to live together in community, in peace and harmony, without chaos or anarchy. When we honor our parents, prohibit murder and resist adultery, refrain from stealing and speak the truth, keep from envy, we find ourselves much more capable of showing love and compassion toward our neighbor. Sure, we can joke about that adultery issue, but we all know people whose lives have been torn apart by it. We may believe a little stealing is okay, or just a little fudging on our income tax, that isn't a big deal. But then we complain when the stores jack up their prices or the government raises taxes to get back what was taken away. Not coveting seems kind of old-fashioned, but people are eaten up by envy, wanting what other people have. Some pour all their grocery money into lottery tickets, trying to live out the dream of having it all and instead end up having nothing. People talk about breaking the 10 Commandments, but in a very real sense, we don't break them at all. Instead, I believe it's much more true to say that when we rebel against one of these rules for living, we break ourselves against the Ten Commandments. After all, the Ten Commandments were on big slabs of stone that we tend to smash ourselves into from time to time. We crash into these rocks, but we don't destroy them. They're there today just as much as they were there thousands of years ago. But we hurt ourselves through our acts of envy or stealing or whatever. When we collide head on with the Ten Commandments, they're still there and they're unaffected. It's us who are going to get hurt. And when we get hurt, the community around us gets hurt too.